Hey everybody, what is going on? Hexlex here. I got another Master Duel video for you, and it's Monday, which means it's time once again for another one of our weekly viewer specials. I think pretty much all of you know the drill by now, but in case you're new to the series or channel, here's how we do things. Every single week on Monday, I like to showcase games from you all, the viewers. It's a really good way of showing decks and or builds and strategies that I don't have time to normally get to myself, or that I don't have the cards for myself. But more than that, I really like the idea of all of us kind of coming together as a community and cheering each other on as we show off our cool games. So that's exactly what we are going to do today. If you're interested in getting your games in for the next viewer special, what you're going to want to do is head down to the description below. Among the links there is going to be a description link for our Discord server, the Hexlexplex. Once you are there, under the Master Duel section is a channel called Viewer Special Submissions. There you're going to want to drop your 9-digit player ID, and I can then view your publicly saved replays. Please make sure that this number is entered correctly and that your replays are set to public so that I may view them. If you have more than one replay, you are more than welcome to submit as many different replays as you'd like. I just ask that you don't submit the same replay multiple times, but that's pretty much the gist of it. So without further ado, we're going to get into some of your games. Alright, our first game comes to us from CJ Scott. CJ Scott is going to be showing us a game with the new Sword Soul Tenyi deck, or rather the new Tenyi support in a Sword Soul Tenyi deck. So, very, very interesting here. Looks like Tenyi Affinity is going to be the field spell that we're going to be looking to add off the Mula Adhara. I've been pretty interested to see exactly how the Mula Adhara slides into the Sword Soul deck. The Saruya, the applications seem pretty apparent to me. Seems particularly good if your opponent's got a hand trap, but also seems like it could be just a great extender in general as well. So, yeah, very eager to see how this one plays out. And our opponent is going to be playing Makonko. Looks like they are playing the OTK style of Makonko deck, where they're going for the going second OTK here. So, yeah, let's go ahead and just hop right on into this duel. Like I said, very eager to see what the new Tenyi stuff adds to the Sword Soul end board. So, let's dive in and take a peek. Alright, so we're taking the first turn. Naturally, our opponent's going to want to go second here. Looks like we got a pretty good variety of Sword Soul and Tenyi cards here. We're leading with the Ashina and then linking that off in order to link summon, of course, the Tenyi, Monk of the Tenyi, that's the one. It's been so long since I've played Sword Soul Tenyi, I hardly remember the names of the cards. Going for the Moye. Moye revealing the Adhara in our hand in order to summon the token. And now we're going to sync for 8. Now is this going to be Chi-Shao or the Mula Adhara? It is going to be the new Mula Adhara rather than Chi-Shao. Moye, of course, gets to draw. Mula Adhara is going to search up a field spell. To be fair, we do already have Longyan in this hand, so there's really probably not much need for the Chi-Shao anyway for the search. Maxi, of course, an excellent draw. Going to use the Longyan in order to summon out that token in itself, going for the level 12. Or 10, rather. It could be Baron, which it is. I was going to say it could also be the Qixing Longyan. Now we get the Longyan burn. Going for the Tenyi Affinity allows us to add the Vessel of the Dragon Cycle from deck to hand, which we can then activate to send the Vishuddha in order to add the new Saruya. Now Ashina's effect from the graveyard gets to activate, special summoning the Sithana, and then now we can special Saruya and go for another level 8, which means that we do actually get to put Chi-Shao on our board as well. And Chi-Shao, of course, can add a Sword Soul, or... Is it any Worm monster? No, it's any Sword Soul card. Wow, that's how you know it's been a while. Oh, also, we had the Graveyard effect of the Saruya there, which when it's sent to the graveyard for the synchro material of a Worm Synchro, you can summon any Tenyi Link monster by taking damage equal to its Link rating times 1,000. Looks like we've gone for the Link 4 here. Tenyi Spirit Sahasraha. Wait, Sahasrara, I think. So what does this do? You control and face a non-effect monster. Monster your opponent controls cannot target effect monsters for attacks. Also, your opponent cannot target effect monsters on the field with card effects. Quick effect, target effect monster your opponent controls. Special summon a token that has the same attack as that token. Very, very interesting. Alright. And a very scary looking end board with the new Sword Soul Tenyi stuff. Opponents can lead with Heavy Storm. We're fine letting that go. And then they just immediately concede. Looks like they were trying to use the Heavy Storm in order to beat out our Baron de Fleur's Omni Negate. And then, you know, try to use more board breakers or just OTK in general. But yeah, so that's pretty impressive. the new support there. Particularly, I was impressed by this little line. Hang on, where is it? Right here, of going Mula Adhara to add 10 Affinity, 10 Affinity to go for Vessel of the Dragon Cycle. Vessel of the Dragon Cycle banishes one of your, or sends one of your tendies in order to add, right? It sends a worm monster, and then if you have a non-effect, yep, then you add a tendy monster with a different name. So send the Vishita, add the Saruya, which then let us go into the Chi Shao. So this little line in particular, I'm very, very impressed by. It seems like a really nice way to not just turn Tenyi monsters into a Sword Soul line, but also gain advantage along the way as you do it, right? Because you could always go like a 1+7 for a Chi Shao, but this lets you build up some bodies and advantage and then still go into the Chi Shao, which I think is a noticeable improvement for the deck. Excellent stuff. Thank you, CJ Scott, for that demonstration there. We do, of course, have some more games to watch. Let's go into the next one. All right, our next game comes to us from Lux. Lux has a duel here where they are going to be playing Fiend Smith Punk. And sure enough, I wondered if we were going to be maxing out on Lancia. Looks like we're maxing out on not only Lancia, but also Chaos Hunter, which definitely makes sense given the state of ranked ladder right now. Yeah, it's interesting. Because right now on Ranked Ladder, I think it is a good idea to be maxing out on at least Lancia and possibly exploring the idea of playing some more options beyond that, simply because of how prevalent Malice is on Ladder. We'll have to see if that remains the case, if the deck's popularity is going to wane enough to the point that, you know, Malice decks will still consider maining 3 Lancia. I think they will to some degree, for sure, because Lancia is, of course, good against more than just Malice. It's also good against Crystron, is the other big one. But yeah, I think if you're not playing a Malice deck, maining at least 3 Lancia is probably just correct right now. As mentioned in my Malice videos, if you are playing Malice, I think that Artifact Lancia is akin to like an evenly matched type of card, where it's only really good going second. And I'm not as big of a fan of Malice or Lancia in Malice as opposed to non-Malice decks. But speaking of Malice, of course, our opponent is going to be playing Malice, and they're playing a pretty standard looking build here. Although they are on Code of Soul, more notably D-Shifter. I really don't think Dimension Shifter is the best idea to play in Malice, just because of how much the deck actually really does want to use its graveyard. It might not seem like it, but it's really easy to be like, oh, everything wants to get banished because then it summons itself, so then we'll play Shifter to banish everything. But you do actually want your stuff to hit the graveyard, namely like your trap cards, so that you can reset them off of the white binder, but it's also really helpful to have stuff in the graveyard to banish off of like March Hare, for example. So yeah, it's a very like, I mean, you can play Shifter in this deck if you really, really want to, but it's not to your advantage to do so most of the time. All right, anyway, let's take a look at this duel here. I think we were going second, is that what that said? Actually, that should have looked. No, we're going first, okay. Alright, going first, and unfortunately does not look like we really have plays here. I mean, we can log on for the field spell and set the Nashiwari Surprise, but not much we can do beyond that. Opponent's gonna hit us with a Shifter and the Maxi, which I think was poor timing for... I'm gonna think it was poor timing for both. I'm assuming we're about to end our main phase, which is why our opponent goes March Hare for White Rabbit here, and then setting the TB11. So, I will say that I think that our opponent using those hand traps when we did, like, they didn't shotgun them, but I still think it was poor timing, because really with the Wagon doesn't do anything by itself, right? If this had been normal summon Xayamine to search for a Rising Scale, then I could understand firing off Shifter. But even then, not Shifter and Maxi. Like, I get that, oh, you want to fire off the Shifter first because you have no cards in your graveyard, and then cards are going to get banished for the rest of the turn. So if you want to Maxi, you have to do that as well. I don't think you need to do both of these, especially in a hand where you already have March Hare and White Rabbit. You don't need to resolve Maxi. You could absolutely hold this for a follow-up turn. Also, furthermore, and maybe our opponent just isn't that familiar with Punk, but this is why knowing what, you know, meta decks do is a good thing. Because if our opponent was more familiar with Punk, they would have realized that Wagon by itself just does not do anything. And it really was not warranted, you know, this play did not warrant shotgunning such powerful hand traps right off the bat. Okay, so they're going to go in phase TB11 for the Hearts Cryptor. March Hare F gets to add itself back to the hand. Going straight for the Hearts Cryptor from the extra deck is a little bit of an odd choice too, if you ask me. Because the special summon here is not treated as a link summon, meaning our opponent cannot revive this Hearts Cryptor later if it gets like banished or something. Because it was not properly link summoned. Given that we were going to end our turn already, I think our opponent should have gone for like more extension. Maybe summoned like, I don't know, a Dormouse or something. Alright, they're going to try to fire off the Hearts Cryptor F. We're going to chain the artifact Lancia, which is more or less not only a negate against this kind of effect, but also going to stop our opponent's turn for the most part. There are some plays that the deck can make under... what do you call it? Under Lancia, but is that a second TB11? Or they just recycle it? No, they just recycled it, right? Yeah, okay. Okay, they're gonna go for Splash Mage. We're chaining the Maxi. I think this was a good time to use Maxi. I guess we do have two, so maybe we could have fired it off a little bit sooner. But at the same time, I guess we weren't really sure if our opponent was actually going to special summon or if they were just going to, like, you know, summon a bunch of stuff and battle over because we Lancia'd them. But cycling it for one draw, I think, is still fine here. I think a lot of people get really obsessed over, like, you didn't get the maximum number of draws for Max C, and, like, you really don't. It's very rare that that's needed, that you have to, right? Because a lot of the time, your opponent's just going to stop after one or two draws anyway. Like, one or two after the Max C, no matter when you did it, right? And so at that point, you know, it becomes to your advantage to wait to get your opponent to waste more resources. Again, I think a lot of people are just fixated on Max C as early as possible to maximize draws, but it's counterintuitive. I understand why people think that way, but I'm here to tell you that firing off Max C actually does not guarantee you get the most effective draws. And most of the time, I would argue. Alright, speaking of Maxi, we're going to use our second one in response to their March Hare. Looks like they're going to try to banish the... Oh no, they're just banishing... Oh yeah, okay, they're Graveyard White Rabbit. I see. Now they're going to banish our Xayamine with the Hearts Cryptor. But we still have Ogre Dance to go for another Xayamine, which hasn't used effect yet, so we can add the Rising Scale here. Now all of a sudden this game is looking... Oh my god, we've got to draw the Engraver there. Like, having the Rising Scale alone made this game, like just a landslide victory for us, but getting an Engraver off of the draw on top of that is so over for our opponent. They're completely out of disruption. They've already used Hearts Cryptor F. They don't have any back row. Unless this last card in hand is a hand trap, there's just nothing they can do anymore. Again, Hearts Cryptor cannot revive itself if it does get banished later because it was special summoned by the effect of a trap card and not properly link summoned. So we don't even really have to worry about, like, this getting banished or anything like that. But at this point, we could just Amazing Dragon and bounce their whole board. Or at the very least, these two Link monsters. Well, we wouldn't do it right away. Obviously, we want to go for the cart first, but yeah. Just setting up our board. We got the Desiree here. We're looking very, very good. I will say, too, you know, I understand that it's the first weekend of Malice. I don't expect people to be playing it optimally. It's an extremely complicated deck. I am assuredly not playing it optimally. I'm sure I'm making tons of small mistakes in my videos and all that kind of stuff, but... I'm more, I guess, demonstrating what our opponent did wrong here to kind of, like, I guess be an educational moment. Yeah, here we go. Here's the Amazing Dragon. And we can just... This has already activated its effect, right? Yeah, the main phase effect, so we just bounce everything. Going for the E-Telly. Oh, I see. We're going to go for the Pep finish, too. That peep. That peep sweep. Casually dealing 6,300 in one attack. And they're not even going to let us get the last attack. They concede right before. Boo! That was good. Very, very good game, Lux. Very good stuff. We got time for one more, so let's finish off with one last duel. And our last game comes to us from Jordan, aka Poetry is Alive. And they're going to be on Malice. We had to get some amount of Malice gameplay in here. See, this is our build here. It looks like we're rocking Lancias and Shifter ourselves. And let's see what our opponent's on. Okay, so yeah, they're playing... Well, this is a rather interesting variant of the Bestial Fiendsmith control style deck. We're playing Blue Eyes as one of our normal monsters here. But none of the Blue Eyes support. I wonder if they just wanted the Royal, or... Because I saw Blue Eyes here and I was like, oh, so are we playing like a little Blue Eyes package? That's kind of cool, but actually I don't see any Blue Eyes cards. Maybe they just wanted something with high stat values for their Primate Engine. Who knows? But let's go ahead and check this game out to finish off. Alright, sounds like from the description here we're going to have to push through some amount of hand traps to make this play as well. But of course this is something that Malice is quite good at. Oh yeah, this hand is stacked. Look at this. Okay, so we're leading with the White Rabbit set TB11. We get to go for TB11 here, of course, by banishing the White Rabbit, and then they're going to fire off an Ash Blossom against us here. But, yeah, we've already got the Malice and Underground and March Hare in hand here, so either one of those, I think, would have been enough, right? Because even if it was just March Hare, we could have March Hare, banish the TB11 out of our graveyard to summon, and then go for Splash Mage, and then go into Red Ransom, and that's pretty much just plays right there, right? Well, no, because we'd still need a way to banish the Red Ransom, I think. Anyway. Speaking of Red Ransom, looks like we're about to make that here with the Link Decoder. The one thing that I kind of struggle with when I have hands like this, where there's just so many summons to do, is that sometimes I fall into the trap, and actually this happened to me on stream, of like playing into Nibiru because my hand is so good. And we kind of did that a little bit here, but again, it feels a little bit difficult to avoid sometimes when you're playing Malice, personally. But again, that's probably just me needing more experience with the deck. Alright, here's the White Binder. Yep, you'll pretty much always go Red Ransom and then White Binder. Oh, I see, we're going to banish Red Ransom with the White Binder F. I was wondering at what point we're going to end up banishing the Red Ransom there. Alright, March Hare from deck. That banishes to add a Chessy Cat back, because we already have another March Hare in hand, so we might as well. And then going for the Terahertz to end on, looks like. And then, of course, we get to set the D-save for him. So we got the GWC, we got the MTP, we've got the Malice in the mirror, we got, like, everything. In addition to the Terahertz here. Opponent's going to lead with the Roar. We're going to chain our Ash Boss into that so they can't get their dust in. But it looks like they have a call by here, which we're going to D-save for him. I like these negates here because really a lot of the way that the Primate Fiendsmith deck can make a threatening board is with the Fiendsmith engine. Primate engine alone really just gets into Drill Beam loops and maybe a Spheres and not much else. So, oh, maybe they're just playing Blue Eyes for a Spheres target. That must be it. I think Wattail Dragon's a better normal dragon if you're gonna go that route, but. Alright, so sure enough, as soon as they summon the Luria, we're going to go for GWC, summoning White Binder, which not only banishes the Engraver and Tract out of their yard, but also the Red Ransom out of ours. Red Ransom gets to banish for the March Hare. March Hare is going to add back the other March Hare, or itself, one or the other. We already have the TP, or the MTP, rather, face down, so there's no need to special summon White Rabbit here. Normally you would do that to set your MTP, but again, we already have it, so we don't really have to do that here. They're going to go for Relinquished Anima to try to suck up our Terahertz here, but we're going to use the Malice in the Mirror to just go ahead and negate that. Chessy Cat gets to summon on Banish. They're going to go normal summon Lacrima, send another Engraver, which is actually pretty astonishing that they opened Roar and Engraver and Lacrima. That's kind of ridiculous. Sometimes your opponent just wants it more. What can I say? But here we can use Terahertz to dump Packbit. Packbit can push back the sequence. If we played Mirror Logic Aggregator, we could have also used it there to preemptively negate the sequence before they have a chance to activate the effect. And even if we didn't have either of those, we also still had MTP, which could have banished the sequence. So no matter what, we were pretty much all set to go there. But yeah, thanks for showing off that game, Jordan, as well as everybody else who submitted. We could not do this series without you all, and I love doing the viewer special series. It is by far one of my favorites that we do here on the channel. So thanks everybody for submitting. Really appreciate your support and just for watching as well, especially all the way to the end of the video. Really helps small YouTube channels like mine a lot more than you can imagine. But that'll do it for now. This is Hexlex. I'm about to sign out. But before we do that, let's go on to our outro and thank our YouTube members and patrons. Hey everybody, Hexlex here. Thank you so very much for watching all the way to the very end of the video, which by the way is one of the best ways to support the channel. Speaking of supporting the channel, take a look at the names on screen. These are folks who have been so generous as to either join as a YouTube member or subscribe over on patreon.com/Hexlex to support. There's also perks for doing so. If you would like to see YouTube videos early, as well as some exclusive videos that get uploaded to YouTube, but for one reason or another I decide not to publish, definitely go ahead and hit that join button to see content early, as well as some exclusive content. If you're looking for more exclusive content, over on patreon.com, I upload exclusive videos that are not posted on YouTube just about every single day. Whether you choose to subscribe over on Patreon, join as a YouTube member, or simply continue to watch, your support is greatly appreciated. Thank you so very much. But for now, this is Hexlex. I am signing out, and I hope that you have a fantastic day.